You know that feeling, right? That sense of absolute dread when you realize you have to speak in front of a group. It is a massive challenge for so many of us. But what if it wasn't a life sentence? Turns out there's a real scientific two-part strategy to get a handle on it, and that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So first things first, if you feel this anxiety, you are so not alone. You're actually in the vast majority. The data shows that up to 75% of people have some level of fear of public speaking. It is an incredibly common, totally shared human experience. So let's get that out of the way. You are not the only one.
In fact, it's so common, it actually has a fancy official name, glossophobia. It literally comes from the Greek words for tongue and fear. And get this, it is the single most common social phobia out there. So yeah, it's time we stop treating this like some kind of personal failing and start seeing it for what it is, a widespread and solvable problem.
Okay, so to solve it, we first have to get under the hood and understand why it happens. Why does it feel like your own body completely betrays you at the worst possible moment? Well, the answer is all tangled up in our ancient evolutionary wiring. Now, here's the wild part. Our brains are, for this particular task, kind of wired stupid. I mean, our ancient survival system literally cannot tell the difference between a hungry tiger about to pounce and a boardroom full of colleagues. It misinterprets the social risk of a presentation as a life or death physical threat, and it just floods your system with all those fight or flight stress hormones.
And this quote from cognitive behavioral therapy specialist Veronica Walsh just absolutely nails it. The threat response is the threat. Think about that. It's not the audience that's going to derail you, it's your own body's overwhelming reaction, the racing heart, the shaky hands, the mind going completely blank. That physical response, that's the real enemy here.
So, how do we fight back? Well, you have to think of it like a two-front war. First, we need a solution for the mind. And this is where a really powerful psychological tool called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short, comes into play. CBT helps us see the vicious little cycle that anxiety traps us in. It all kicks off with a thought, right? Something like, oh, this is going to be an absolute disaster. That single thought is enough to trigger your body's threat response. Those physical feelings, the racing heart, the tight chest, they create the feeling we call anxiety. And what does that feeling make you want to do? Avoid public speaking at all costs. It's a perfect, miserable loop.
And this brings us to a massive, game-changing idea. Your feelings are not facts. They just aren't. They are the neurobiological result of the story you're telling yourself about what's happening. And that, my friends, is fantastic news. Because it means if you can change the story, if you can change your thoughts, you can actually change the feeling. Okay, so let's make this super practical. What does that actually look like? On the left, you see that classic bad thinking habit, predicting a negative future. It's going to be awful. CBT teaches us to reframe that. You challenge it. Instead of making it all about you and your potential embarrassment, you shift the focus. You tell yourself, hey, this isn't about me. It's about the information I'm sharing. And you know what? I can handle feeling uncomfortable for a bit. But let's be real. Sometimes that physical freight train of anxiety is so intense that no amount of rational thinking can stop it. And that's exactly why we need the second part of this strategy, a solution for the body. And right here, we've got what expert Veronica Walsh calls a major advance. The strategy is to pair all that great CBT mind work with a beta blocker. This is the type of medication that, after a conversation with your doctor, of course, can be prescribed specifically for this kind of situational, in-the-moment anxiety. So how on earth does it work? It's actually incredibly simple. A beta blocker physically blocks the effects of adrenaline on your body. It basically intercepts that chemical fight or flight signal before it can cause chaos. And the result? It's profound. By blocking the adrenaline, you stop those physical symptoms before they even start. The racing heart, the trembling hands, the shaky voice, they are medically kept in check. Your body stays physically calm, which finally gives your rational brain, the one you've been training with CBT, a fighting chance to stay in control. Okay, so let's put the two pieces together. We have the mind solution with CBT, and we have the body solution with beta blockers. And when you combine them, wow, something truly remarkable starts to happen. You can actually begin to rewire your brain's deep-seated fear response. The scientific name for this process is extinction therapy. Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but all it really means is changing your fear memories. See, when a beta blocker helps you have a calm, competent, non-traumatic public speaking experience, you are giving your brain powerful, new evidence. Evidence that says, hey, see, that wasn't a threat after all. This new, positive memory begins to overwrite and dismantle the old, fearful ones.
So the entire strategy really just boils down to this incredibly powerful formula. You train the mind with CBT to change your thoughts, you calm the body with a beta blocker to prevent the physical panic, and those two together create a brand new, non-fearful memory that starts to literally rewire your brain.
Honestly, the best way to think of this is like physical therapy, but for your brain. This isn't magic, it's straight up science. You're leveraging neuroplasticity, which is just the fancy term for your brain's amazing natural ability to change and adapt. You're actively strengthening the logical part of your brain, while at the same time, you're weakening that overactive primal fear center, that little ape brain that's always screaming, danger!
Now, it's also really important to set a realistic goal here. The aim isn't to suddenly make you fall in love with public speaking. I mean, maybe you will, and that's great, but the real goal is about adapting. It's about reaching a point where you can tolerate the experience and, most importantly, perform competently without fear completely derailing your life or your career.
And all of this leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. When that debilitating fear is no longer in the driver's seat, when it becomes a manageable background noise instead of an impassable wall, what becomes possible for you? What could you achieve then?